Thank you very much. I want to thank Chairman Bishop for being with us today, and of course Chairman McClintock and Ranking Member Hannah Buzan for putting my bill on the hearing schedule today. H.R. 5875 is supported by all 6 members representing U.S. territories and the District of Columbia, and would fix a problem that has gone overlooked for decades and decades. This bipartisan bill would amend 2 federal laws, the Pittman-Robertson and the Dingell-Johnson Acts, to provide parity for the 5 territories in D.C. with the 50 states under those laws' federal funding formulas. These laws would provide federal funding to support fish and wildlife conservation and enhance funding, hunting, sport fishing, boating, and other outdoor recreational opportunities at no cost to the taxpayers. Each state territorial fish and wildlife agency receives a yearly allocation of this federal funding from the U.S. Department of Interior. However, current federal law places arbitrary caps on how much funding the 5 territories and the D.C. can receive. For example, each state is guaranteed at least a 1% share of the yearly Pittman-Robertson apportionment, with the Secretary of Interior having the discretion to award more funding based on population and other factors. However, current law caps Guam, Puerto Rico, and the other territory shares at just 1/6 of 1%. That means that all 5 territories combined receive less than a single state's Pittman-Robertson allocation each year. The bill would fix this to provide each territory the minimum 1% allocation guaranteed for each state. For Dingell-Johnson, current law also caps arbitrarily the territories in D.C.'s yearly allocations. Guam, American Samoa, the Northern Marianas Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and the District of Columbia are each capped at just 1/3 of 1% for Dingell-Johnson funding. Puerto Rico's yearly share is capped at just 1% despite a population greater than nearly 24 states. Their population today averages about 3.7 million. The bill would fix this by removing these arbitrary caps to allow the Secretary of the Interior to exercise his or her full discretion in allocating the Dingell-Johnson funding to each territory and D.C. based on the same criteria that is applied to the states. The bill would also make technical changes in the U.S. Code to correct typos, drafting errors in these laws, and make them all more reader-friendly. Finally, it's important to remember that when we talk about the 5 territories and D.C., we are talking about more than 4.4 million Americans. Some laws were put on the books, Mr. Chairman, before many of the territories or D.C. had elected members to the House. In fact, the Federal Aid and Wildlife Restoration Act was passed in Congress in 1937, before many of us were born. So that is the cause of a lot of these parity issues in my mind. Absent federal support, many conservation projects and programs in the territories simply will never happen, as limited territorial budgets often struggle to meet our residents' basic needs. So again, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the ranking member for this hearing, and my original co-sponsors from the territories and D.C. for their support. And I yield back.